We'll be going over IRS Form 4506-A, request for a copy of exempt or political organization IRS form. So as most people realize, any organization that requests a tax exempt status from the IRS or is registered as a political organization with the IRS has to make certain documents available for public inspection. So this form, IRS Form 4506-A, specifically allows requesters, doesn't necessarily have to be taxpayers, but it can be people that or entities that would like to review or inspect certain tax documents. So for example, IRS Form 990, 990T, 990EZ, 990 PF for private foundations. So you can use this tax form to request those copies. And you can request either in paper copies or on a USB drive for certain digital data. But you don't have to use this tax form. So before we go through this, we'll go over a couple of ways that you can obtain similar information without having to file this form and wait for the IRS to process it. So the first way is if you just go to the IRS website, there are a couple, and actually the URLs are right here, irs.gov/POLORGS, and you can find completed forms 8871 and 8872 for political organizations, or you can go to the irs.gov/TEOS to do a search for publicly available tax exempt organization information. So you can get not only tax returns, you can get correspondence, you can get things like requests for status, you can get a lot of information very similarly to what you would get if you filed 4506-A. The primary difference is that you may be able to get a lot of this stuff pretty instantly without having to wait, at least according to the instructions, up to 60 days for the IRS to process your request. So you can do that. And then the other thing that you can do is if you're looking for information from one organization, you can request the information directly from that organization. So they are required by law to make certain information available for public inspection. So this could be tax returns, reports, notices, exempt applications, so on and so forth. So with that said, let's go ahead and go through this form. It's a one-page tax form, and most of it really is this top area where you'll enter the name of the organization. So let's start with line 1. So in this case, our hero John Doe runs a media company, Doe Media Solutions. So he is requesting information about Acme Charitable Foundation. So we've entered the name, the employer identification number, their mailing address with city, state, and zip code. And then in line 2, we're putting in information about Doe Media Solutions. The contact person is John Doe. There's the address, phone number, city, state, and zip code, and then the date. Now in line 3, basically you have to choose which category you would fit in. For the most part, if you're using this information for commercial purposes, then you will pay for all pages of printed forms. So basically, the IRS will charge 20 cents per page for however many pages, and if the expected cost is going to be $250 or more, then the IRS will expect you to pay upfront before they process your request. So a lot of this information that you think you would need is not actually contained in the form or in the instructions. And there's not a lot of information readily available online. My best guess is that if you submit this request, then someone from the IRS will be in touch with you to arrange payment detail, because there is no payment information on this. So, and there's no way really for you to know how much this would cost until you actually get the information from the IRS on how many pages are involved in your return. On a side note, you are also expected to pay for digital copies that the IRS can generate and put onto a USB drive for you. However, I do not know any information about how much that would cost. There's not any readily available information for the USB drive request, at least not in the form instructions. This is probably something that you would get an estimate from the IRS as they process your form. So in this case, we put the category of the requester. We put that it's a media outlet. You put the name of the media outlet. And the primary difference between commercial use and then all other categories is that for all other categories, the first 100 pages is free. After that, it's 20 cents per page. And then in line 4, you're going to put the reason for request. So you should provide a good explanation of how the records will be used to avoid being charged the commercial rate. For obvious purposes, if you're a commercial user, you don't need to complete this line. So on lines 5 through 8, we're really just talking about different types of these tax forms, right? So you would use line 5 if you're requesting copies of Form 990, which is the return of an organization exempt from income tax. 990EZ, which is the short form return of an organization exempt from tax. Line 6 is the Form 990-PF, which is for a private foundation. 990T, that's an exempt organization business income tax return. You can also request IRS Form 5227. So that's for tax years. In line 7 and 8 are really for after tax years 2006. So for IRS Form 5227, this is the split interest trust information return. So for all of these fields, basically, you can submit multiple requests. So in the top line, if you're requesting information from more than one exempt or political organization, you should complete a separate Form 4506-A for each organization. But down here, you can put multiple forms in here. So for example, on the paper request side, we put in 2020 tax year. You can put months or periods requested. Or you can put the entire tax year. So the tax year or periods requested, maybe you want 2020 and 2021 tax returns. On the USB side, it's a little bit more nuanced. You can request yearly or sample data depending on states and calendar years. So if you're very specific, you can enter information for example, this was yearly information for 2021 tax year. This would be yearly for 2019. There are a couple of guidelines that the IRS has. So for each form requested, you would complete either the paper or the USB and then enter your tax year. So for example, this one, we didn't enter the USB request because we had it on a paper request. Now, I don't see anything in the form instructions that precludes you from requesting digital copies of one form, but then paper copies of the other. You probably will run into that issue with the IRS. That's my guess. But the instructions did not seem to indicate one way or the other. If you're ordering a partial set in USB or sample USB, then you should indicate the state and the months that you request. USB and sample USB information is not available for individual exempt organizations, and sample USB requests are not available for individual states. So, and basically that's it. I mean, according to the form instructions, you'll actually mail your completed form 4506-A to the IRS. We've put the address in our article. There's also a fax number, so you can fax it to 855-653-9144. That's the fax number. But you can mail the request to the IRS. Unlike IRS Form 4506-B, you cannot submit this online. If you remember from the other video, 4506-B is not used to request tax return information. It's to request certain types of IRS correspondence, applications, notification letters, things of that nature. And that one, you can only file that via online method. So generally speaking, the form instructions state that it should take about 60 days to process your request. I would take that with a grain of salt and plan accordingly. So we do walk through this form. We kind of break this down a little bit more detail in our article, which you can find on teachmepersonalfinance.com. Type in IRS Form 4506-A, and you'll see a copy of this tax return. If for some reason you hit this video by accident, we're going to put links to the rest of the articles and videos we've produced on all the other types of 4506 forms. There is a series, and this may not be the form for you. So if it's not, take a look at the show notes and hit the appropriate link. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, comments, or if there's a topic that you'd like to see in an upcoming video, please hit me up in the comments section. Thank you very much and have a great day.